Yo, what's going on, guys? Mush back at it with another video, here to cover an absolute disaster show that is coming up on Steam, or happening on Steam, with a particular game that has been in early access for about a year now, a little over a year, and that is the sci-fi first-person shooter, the space shooter, I should say, in Boundary. Boundary is a game that I believe was presented as a part of the PlayStation China Hero project. It wasn't a PlayStation published game or anything like that, but it was promoted with the China Hero project, at least I believe so, don't quote me on that. But it dropped on early access on PC back in April of 2023, and it was supposed to be a player versus player first-person shooter in zero gravity. It actually looked pretty compelling from a premise standpoint. It was in early access for $25, and it was continuing development until it wasn't, and now it is completely done. There's actually an in-depth article on PC Gamer that I do want to highlight, and there's a lot of drama going on with back and forth as far as who's at fault here, whether it's the publisher, the developer. Remember that this is a $25 game, and people bought this game, and now they are completely out of luck. Kind of an unfortunate reality when you do have these multiplayer-centric titles, you know, this can happen with other games, too. Look, Helldivers 2, a huge success, but if Helldivers 2 sold, like, 3 copies, I think that would have been a bit of a problem. You do need to, you know, realize that that is going to be a reality when it comes to these online-only titles, but, this one has a lot more layers to it, and with Helldivers 2, it's a completely different ballgame. That's not a fair comparison. It's just Helldivers 2 was a game that completely popped off, and it's a link to PlayStation. It's a PlayStation-published title. You get the idea. It had an upfront price of $25, sold over 100,000 copies, and for a while was rocking a mostly positive reception on Steam. Now, the official statement put out just a few days ago on June the 19th notes, "Dear Boundary community, we have an important update regarding the future of Boundary. After careful consideration, Skystone has decided to relinquish the publishing rights for Boundary effective at the end of June. Over the past few months, there have been significant delays and a noticeable absence of content updates for Boundary. Despite our best efforts and support, the developer has been unable to deliver the necessary updates and improvements to keep the game thriving. This has led to growing concerns within our community, and we share your frustration. Starting at the end of June, the developer will resume the publishing rights for Boundary. Unfortunately, the developer has made the difficult decision to cease all service for the game instead of continuing to run it in its current state. We understand this news is disappointing for many of our dedicated players who have supported Boundary through its journey, and we are as sad as you that Boundary will not see its full potential. We want to thank each of you for your passion and support. Your support has been invaluable, and we are deeply grateful for the community we have built together." So the publisher is directly putting blame towards the developer, and in this case, they are letting go of publishing rights. They obviously fund the development of the game. They expect the game to be making progress, and from their vantage point, what they are saying is that the development studio has not provided enough content updates to justify them continuing to publish the game. Now, the development studio is Surgical Scalpels. They noted the unilateral decision of Skystone to stop operating Boundary is extremely sudden and unreasonable for the studio and players. We immediately negotiated with Skystone upon receiving the notice, but unfortunately, we were unable to change Skystone's unilateral decision to stop operating Boundary. In response to the current situation, the studio is striving to regain the rights related to the operation of Boundary and is making every effort to preserve the account data of Border, creating conditions as much as possible for the subsequent relaunch. So they are looking to relaunch the game. Then also, it was noted at the same time, the studio is continuously striving for the income that Boundary deserves so far through negotiation and legal means, because so far the studio has not been able to recover the income it deserves from Skystone. Obviously, issues between a developer and publisher, this isn't completely foreign ground. Like, this has happened before, where a developer and a publisher do have a disagreement as far as how funds are handled, as far as the progress of the game. You really don't know the entire story. I get it that, like, people usually want to side with the developer because the developer represents the manpower that is working on the game, and they are putting in the hours to develop the game. However, in any situation like this, We know how it works. You have one side of the story, you have the other side of the story, and generally speaking, the truth lies in the middle. Now, that middle can be very swaying from one direction or the other, and again, I do like to lean on the developer side, but as a consumer, like, I'm always gonna lean on the developers. I want developers to be compensated, and I want developers to have the easiest time possible, where the publisher are offering funds, and the funds are necessary, but you get how this game is played. Recently, ever since this announcement, the game has 354 Steam user reviews. Guys, 9% positive. 9% positive reviews, and yeah, the game is just absolutely getting crapped on, and rightfully so. This game could have been one of those games that I put stupid hours on if I could host a lobby with bots, regardless if the multiplayer is dead or if the campaign got scrapped. It probably didn't help the game will softlock me during the tutorial or going into the HR and armory. Just a shame. That is an issue when these games do get shut down, and I get it that they are trying to do a relaunch and everything like that. They gotta figure out a way to preserve the game offline. Like, Knockout City went offline. Knockout City, dedicated online game. However, they created an offline ability or servers that people, I forget exactly what they did, but Knockout City was a game that they went out of their way to preserve. That's gotta be done to an extent. People spend $25 on this game, and I don't know if you complain to Steam that they'll give you a refund even though the game is shutting down. I don't think they will. But, you know, it's a reality of online titles, and it's going to be up to the publisher and the developer on whether or not they want to put the extra work into preserving the game. There's another review, ha ha ha, I knew this was going to happen. So much behind-the-scenes drama with the developers never listening and the publisher failing to hold anyone accountable. I feel bad for all of the players that got duped and wouldn't trust anything from the pub again. Former PM and CM for Boundary as well. Man, it seems like, yeah, the developer and publisher are both at fault. Like, if you sink a lot of money into the developer to create a game and the developer isn't being held accountable, like, there is a give and a take here. Like, I do want to side with the publisher, and the concept of Boundary, I remember initially seeing this game a few years ago. The idea, obviously, was going to have people interested. Even somebody like me that doesn't have a lot of care these days for competitive multiplayer games, the premise of Boundary just sounded incredibly compelling. However, you know, this is always going to be a reality with multiplayer games, and seeing how a game like this turns out really makes me question, like, other titles coming out, like a Concord. I don't mean to crap on Concord. Actually, I do mean to crap on Concord. Like, I hate that game. But Concord is going to come out at $40. What's going to happen in a year if that game is just a giant blunder? Like, Boundary was $25, and now people essentially gypped out at $25. Like, Concord is going to be $40. I have to think that game is going to be a gigantic flop. Like, what's going to happen a year after Concord comes out? Maybe the game will be a home run. Maybe I'm out to lunch. Maybe I don't know anything about how that game is really going to do, but I have to think that game is going to be a flop. But again, it's a reality when it comes to these online-only titles where some are going to pop off, and it's going to be a limited amount. It's not going to be all of them. Again, you hear about the Helldivers 2. You hear about the big games that do really well. The Final Fantasy 14s. You hear about those games because those games resonate. But there's a lot of Boundary situations that do happen where games come out and then they shut down. And Knockout City was published by EA, and that game was shut down. Like, just think about that for a second. But yeah, absolute disaster situation. Unfortunately, people get gypped out of money here with the game shutting down, but that's kind of a reality you have to anticipate to an extent with, you know, with online-only titles, especially early access games on top of that. But that'll do it for me. Let me know all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. As always, thanks for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Peace out. Hey, what's going on, guys? Mush here again. Hope you enjoyed the video. As you guys might know, YouTube's notification system is sometimes a little bit wonky, even if you're subscribed to the channel. Maybe you're not abundantly aware that I uploaded a video. To remedy that situation, make sure you hit the bell notification button. This way, whenever I upload a new video, and I try to upload as consistently as possible, you will be notified directly of the upload, and you can watch it as soon as it goes live. I would really appreciate if you guys hit that button so you can stay up to date with all of the content I'm posting. But as always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.